many times do I have to tell you this lake is for everyone in the association?
And how many times do I have to tell you this land is mine?
Look at the deed.
There's a certain peace that comes with living near the water. When I bought this property 10 years ago, I wasn't just buying a house, I was buying quiet mornings, the shimmer of dawn on the lake, and evenings where the only sound was the soft call of frogs by the reeds. That lake was mine. Not metaphorically, legally. It sat fully within my property line, surrounded by tall oaks and cattails. The previous owner had even installed a small dock and maintenance valve, a remnant of when the lake was man-made decades ago. I'd cast a line on slow weekends, teach my son to skip stones, and sometimes sit out there with my wife, Marlene, watching the light fade behind the trees. We had neighbors, sure, but everyone respected space. Until Sandra moved in. Sandra Thompson. The kind of person you can spot from a mile away, oversized sunglasses, powerwalk stride, and that tone that always made everything sound like a rule. Within weeks, she had taken over the HOA presidency after discovering inefficiencies. At first, it was small stuff, lawn-length notices, mailbox repainting, and community spirit banners stapled everywhere. Then, the flyers started. Together, we beautify Willow Shores. Community Lake cleanup this weekend. Community Lake. That phrase made my stomach turn. The first real confrontation happened on a humid Saturday morning. I looked out the kitchen window and froze. There were 4 teenagers fishing on the far edge of my lake, on my side of the property line. I walked down to the dock. "Hey, fellas, you mind telling me who said you could fish here?" One of them looked nervous. Miss Sandra said it's fine. She said it's community property now." I blinked. "She said what?" "She said the HOA decided to make it part of the neighborhood," another kid added. "Said it's everyone's lake now." I forced a smile. "All right. No worries. You guys didn't know. But it's private land. Please pack up and head home." They apologized and left, but I was boiling. That afternoon, I walked the edge of the lake, and there it was, a shiny laminated sign hammered into the ground. Willow Shores Community Lake, catch and release only. Sponsored by the HOA. She'd actually done it. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up early. Sandra sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her inner circle, a few retirees and a guy named Doug who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. When it was my turn to speak, I held up a photo of the sign. "Sandra, would you like to explain why there's a community sign on my private property?" She smiled without looking up. "Oh, Tom, that's just a misunderstanding. The lake borders the greenbelt, so technically it's part of the neighborhood environment." "No," I said, trying to stay calm. "Technically, it's part of my deed. I've got the boundary survey here if anyone's interested." She blinked, but didn't lose her composure. "Well, Tom, some of the neighbors have expressed interest in enjoying the view, so we're simply promoting shared community access." "Access isn't yours to promote," I said. The room went silent. Sandra crossed her legs, leaned back, and said with a sugary tone, "Tom, sometimes it's better to think of the community rather than personal ownership. The spirit of Willow Shores is about togetherness. The spirit," I repeated, my voice rising, "isn't going to hold up in court when someone drowns on my property." That made her blink. I left that meeting knowing one thing: this wasn't over. A few weeks later, I came home to see colorful flyers taped to every mailbox. Summer by the Lake, hosted by HOA President Sandra Thompson. Bring your family for an afternoon of fun by our beautiful community lake. I nearly dropped my mail. Our lake. I stormed inside and called her immediately. "Sandra, what is this?" "Oh, Tom," she chirped, "I was going to tell you. We're hosting a small get-together. It's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate summer. Don't worry, we'll keep things tidy." "Sandra, this is trespassing." She laughed. "Don't be dramatic. It's one afternoon. You're welcome to join us, it's your lake too, in a way. In a way. I said, trying not to yell. Sandra, it's literally mine. There's no, in a way, about it. I'll take that as a no, then, she said curtly, and hung up. That night, I sat by the window, watching the moon ripple over the lake. I could already imagine the crowds, the noise, the litter. That's when I decided, if she wanted a show, I'd give her one. The next morning, I drove straight to the county assessor's office. It took hours of paperwork, but I walked out with every legal map and property record confirming that the lake, every inch, was mine. When I got home, I drafted a formal email. To the Willow Shores HOA Board. Any attempt to enter or modify my property for your upcoming event will be treated as trespassing. You have been legally notified. No response. 2 days later, I looked out the window and saw volunteers unloading folding tables, banners, and boxes of decorations, right on the lakeshore. I marched out. Sandra. She turned, hands on her hips. Good morning, Tom. Isn't it a beautiful day for a party? You're not setting up here. She smirked. Tom, don't start. We've already cleared this with the HOA. Everything's above board. Except the land you're standing on, I snapped. You're being ridiculous, she said. This is for everyone's enjoyment. You should be thanking me for improving your view. I pointed at her clipboard. Last warning. Take it down. She just smiled and said, you wouldn't dare ruin a community event. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat out by the lake, thinking. Then my eyes wandered to the dock, and the old metal valve box half buried under some vines. That valve controlled the drainage system from when the lake was built. I'd never used it, but the developer told me it could lower the water level in a few hours if needed for maintenance. And I still had the key. So at sunrise, the day of Sandra's big Summer by the Lake party, I unlocked it. I gave the valve a slow, steady turn. The water began swirling down the hidden drainpipe with a deep, gurgling sound. By mid-morning, the waterline had dropped over a foot. By noon, nearly 2 feet. The dock now sat crooked in the mud, and the once clear water had receded enough to expose rocks and algae. When I walked out front, Sandra was pacing with her phone. Tom. What happened to the lake? Maintenance, I said calmly. Private property upkeep. Perfect timing, huh? She went red. You're sabotaging the community event. No, Sandra. I'm maintaining my property. You're the one trespassing on it. The look on her face, pure fury. By the time the guests arrived, the lakefront looked like a construction zone. The kids stared at the muddy shore. Parents whispered. One of the food vendors refused to unload because the ground was too soft. Sandra tried to make speeches, to rally them, but no one cared. Then the sheriff's cruiser pulled up. He stepped out, tipped his hat, and said, Mr. Bradley. That's me, I said. He handed Sandra a folded paper. You've been served notice of property boundary violation. All HOA activities must immediately cease on this land. Sandra's jaw dropped. This is absurd. The deputy pointed to the lake. Ma'am, this entire area falls under Mr. Bradley's parcel number. The county confirmed it this morning. You'll need to move everything off-site. I almost felt bad. Almost. The volunteers packed up. The tents came down. Sandra's face stayed crimson the whole time. The Summer by the Lake event turned into Mud by the Mess. A few days later, Sandra called a special HOA meeting. It lasted 10 minutes. Apparently, the HOA insurance wouldn't cover the setup damages because they had no written permission to be on my property. And the cleanup costs came directly from their operating fund, a fund Sandra had managed personally. The board wasn't happy. A week later, I got an email. Effective immediately, Sandra Thompson has resigned as HOA President. No apology. Just, gone. A year later, things look different. The HOA still exists, but now it's run by reasonable people. The lake remains peaceful. No signs. No parties. Just ripples and reflection. Sometimes, when the sun sets, I sit by the dock with Marlene and a cold drink. We laugh about it now. The best part? The new HOA board put up a small plaque by the community path, just before my property line. It reads, "Private property, please respect boundaries." Every time I see it, I smile. Sandra taught everyone in Willow Shores an important lesson. You can't claim what doesn't belong to you, no matter how many titles you hold. Respect goes both ways, and entitlement always drains faster than water. If someone crosses your line, don't shout. Document. Prepare. And let the law, and gravity, do the rest.